Endings matter much more than we realize or give credit to. Let me take you back 5 years to a cold evening in Astoria, New York. It was cold. There was snow all around. There was a light drizzle. I could sense wind gushing past. I was wearing a black coat. For a moment, I felt like Superman. There was even music. I think it was trance. And then, out of nowhere, I met with a bizarre accident. I don't know what happened next, but I remember waking up in a quaint hospital a few hours away, and I discovered to my horror that my bone, which is unfunnily called the humerus, was broken into many parts. The first 3 thoughts that came into my head were as follows. First, I have a job interview tomorrow. This is the very end of my business school. How am I going to make it for that? I had worked very hard to get that job. Everything was almost set. I just needed to clear the last round. And here I was in the hospital. The next thought was that I have a dynamic marketing paper due in 3 days. How am I going to make it happen? And last and most importantly, the thought that crept into my mind was that I have a graduation party to attend in a different continent 1 week away. How am I going to make it there? This negotiation with the ending towards the very culmination of my MBA developed a fascination about understanding what endings are and how they influence us. 5 years out, it's one of the most distinct memories I have out of business school, and it defines my business school experience. To be clear, I don't remember it unfavorably at all. Like a great movie, there were highs, there were lows, but I fought back. I actually appeared for that interview. Thank you, Skype. I sat on a hospital bed, fixed the laptop in front of me, and hustled through. I wrote that I answered the question, I wrote that exam. I solved a bunch of mathematical problems with a few broken bones here and there. I felt great after that. I actually even submitted my dynamic marketing exam paper. Thank you, voice-to-text technology. It was a 3,000-word paper. I made a few errors in commas and full stops here and there, but I managed to finish it. And yes, against medical advice, against sane advice, I actually even made it to the graduation party. I wasn't of much use there, but I still sat in a corner and watched my classmates enjoy the experience that we all had worked so hard to accomplish. This experience till today stands out and defines who I am. And as I as I discovered my fascination with endings, I came to know that endings influence all aspects of our lives, whether it comes to elections or heartbreaks or Uber rides or Ola rides or everything. Let me give you an example. I'll start with the more colorful ones and then go on to elections and other things. Did you know Ashley Madison? Do you know what Ashley Madison is? Ashley Madison is a dating site for married people. Do you know the age at which most people sign up for Ashley Madison? It happens to be 29, 39, 49, or 59. Let's come to marathons now. Do you know, world over, the ages at which people sign up to run for the marathons? It happens to be 29, 39, 49, and 59. Somehow, the end of a decade is a time where each of us wants to do something momentous, something memorable. Now, I don't know how adultery is momentous, but human desires aren't supposed to be understood easily. I'm simply stating the facts and relying on data. Let's come to something more profound, elections. Did you know one of the most accurate predictors of who will win the election is how the economy performs in the last and final year? Many believe that Hillary Clinton would have been the president of the USA had FBI Director James Comey not sent out that email that somehow implicated her in an abuse of power. This email was sent 10 days before the election and resulted in an immediate drop of popularity of Hillary Clinton. What happened next, we all know. But without getting sucked into a political debate, please know that even for something as all-encompassing as elections, endings matter a great deal. Now let's come to heartbreaks and divorces. Divorces spike in the month of March and August. Let me tell you why. Couples who are struggling to make things work often tend to take a vacation towards the end of December. But without addressing the core problem, often a vacation is just a distraction. When they come back from the vacation, they realize that nothing profoundly has changed. Things are still the same, so they hit the lawyers in the month of January. Most divorces take about 4 to 6 weeks, if not more, to culminate, and that explains the March peak. August is something even more interesting. Turns out that parents keep it together for the sake of their children till the end of June, the school year, and then add 4 to 6 weeks to it. That explains the August spike. Now that I've explained how elections influence all aspects of our being, let me give you a theoretical framework in which you can put it together. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman studied this in great detail. He called it the duration neglect. We as human beings don't think in facts and figures, we think in stories. And when we think of these stories, we pay an inordinate weightage to what happens towards the very end and what happens towards the peak. He called it the duration neglect and explained it through various examples. Now, with this theoretical framework, can I expect you to deal with endings better? Probably not, but maybe it's helpful to keep in mind. Look, no research or scientific finding can help us deal with endings better. That's why we have art and literature to help us cope with things better. Towards the end, I just want to leave you with 3 things about endings that each of you can apply in your daily lives to make it slightly better. First is that endings matter. They help us encode, they help us evaluate, but they also cloud our judgment and twist our memory. Simply being aware of the power of endings can help us realize that the story our mind is telling us might be very different from what actually happened. Second, we can create endings. Since we know the power of endings and we know that it influences all our lives, it's to a certain extent up to us how we end things. Whether we're talking about ending a relationship, finishing up a job, or deciding how to end your day or how to end your date, it is to a certain extent up to us how we leave it, because that's going to be a very large part of how we remember it. In the audience and world over, there's some of us who always remember the negative aspects of relationships, of the way things turned out. But negativity comes at a cost. It reduces our happiness. But there's some of us who can create these endings and help us remember the story that we went through as people in a slightly better fashion. So the call to action to each of you is try and start small, but end things on a high. It'll help you deal with things better. And lastly, accept endings. Without endings, there are no beginnings. Without endings, there is no great literature, no art, no music. Endings bring to bear all aspects of being human. The red of jealousy, the green of calm, the violent of storm. And the purpose of life is not just to experience only happiness. The purpose of life is to understand it better, and endings help us evaluate. Endings are also responsible for growth. As Ray Dalio, the famous hedge fund investor, famously put it, pain plus reflection equal to progress. Endings are often followed by a short amount of pain, often that's extended. But that, coupled with reflection, leads to personal growth, societal growth, and growth as a collective altogether. So as we deal with endings, as we negotiate with them, I want you to experience the bliss. I want you to experience the pain plus reflection equal to progress as a collective. Because as we march into the future, thinking as a collective about global challenges is going to be especially important. I started with a cold night in Astoria and how I negotiated with my ending, and I equated it to a movie. Let me end with a movie as well. You know, we all watch movies, read books, and we are told about happy endings. I actually don't wish you all happy endings. I wish you all meaningful endings. Endings with highs, lows, that take you through an inordinate journey. And those endings, like great movies, will help you develop a beautiful purpose or a relationship with life, but hopefully without broken bones like me. If there's one thing you remember from this entire talk, it should be this sentence, the very ending. Every story is a happy story if we know where to put an end to it. Thank you.